Tokyo TDC Annual Awards 2020. TDC prize is awarded to Mei Shuzhi, Lian, Xibin. Their work is the video of big or small exhibition. The presentation will be followed by the message from graphic designer Atsuki Kikuchi, also the judge of Tokyo TDC.
Big or small exhibition. Big or small exhibition is not show or result, but it's more about finding problems and asking questions. Good questions can lead to more thinking, which brings the design back to the original and lead to the thought. That is the motivation for our three curators to make big or small exhibition. In the exhibition, we produced many posters, books, installations, dynamic videos, etc. Luckily, the video of Big or Small won the TDC Reward of 2020 Tokyo TDC. And we hope to use this method to explain the questions and reflections raised during the exhibition. Why is the exhibition named Big or Small? Big and small are relative concepts in themselves from the artistic conception of Shangwang in Zhuangzi. Shangwang here means a state of prejudice and nature. Shang is not what you have and Wang is not what you don't have. The big sets off the existence of the small and the small carries the meaning of the big. They are dialectical and cannot be absolutely independent. What is discussed in the three sections of the exhibition: translation, turning, and expanding. Speaking of the contents of the translation, turning, and expanding sections, we must first talk about the cause of this exhibition. In October 2018, Mei Shuzhi used the Google Translation app to understand about the exhibition posters while attending an exhibition in Switzerland. Inspired by the straightforward undesign effect and uncertainty of converting Chinese to English, Mei Shuzhi proposed the idea of this exhibition after returning to China. We all agreed and started planning a research exhibition to explore and think about the boundaries of Chinese forms and rethinking the visual possibilities of Chinese. We hoped to ask questions and think in a research and experimental way. The exhibition is not a result but a process of exploration. Translation: it is an experiment obtained by translating English posters directly into Chinese through translation software. The works or achievements in this part are just a direct transfer of objects without adding subjective factors. Turning involves some subjective factors. The direct visual impact of translation will be designed, also created to obtain the visual possibilities of language under the new situation. Expanding: we found that some Chinese that were neglected in life let the original independent or subtle Chinese fonts find new forms under the enlarged scale. I hope to explore the scale of Chinese through the change of scale and volume. What is the position of Chinese in the current design context? The use of Western language in design is very mature, and it is a mainstream way to use Western language as the main visual element in China. The Western-style geometric feel is very modern, and it can get better results than using Chinese alone. This is a design phenomenon that exists today, so we want to curate an exhibition about Chinese, and hope to call on designers to explore the possibility of Chinese by paying attention to Chinese and changing their position on Chinese. How are the samples selected? What are the screening criteria? In the selection of experimental samples, we will each find elements of interest to make, and respect the criteria of our own choice. But in the end, what is important is the result after production. Does it provide a new design language? Are these new formal languages inspiring? This is more important. The exhibition aims to explore how to restore and establish the visual presentation of Chinese in the framework of the Western language. How do you understand the sense of humor, or unconventional impact of the experimental results? A sense of humor is a very good way to present a design. But this exhibition is not intended to express a sense of humor. This sense of humor may also be caused by some ambiguity caused by software-based translation. The sense of humor depends on the designer's styles. What I hope to see more is the close union of individual style and contingency, but not intentional. The sense of humor naturally revealed in the works that make most people understand and touched. Can this experimental method be applied to other languages? There are also Chinese characters in Japanese. If we change the Western characters into Japanese, what will be the difference? We also try to translate English directly into Chinese, or translate the translated Chinese into English. It's interesting to see that the results are different at the end. We believe that it would be interesting to translate Japanese into Chinese or other languages. How do you view the uniqueness and possibility of the visual language created by Chinese? We feel that the Chinese language itself has very unique characteristics. Now Chinese designers pay more attention to the use of Western languages, ignoring the tension and characteristics of the Chinese language itself. Perhaps in the large Chinese context, IGN or the characteristics of Chinese as a visual form only concerned its information transmission. This exhibition actually hopes to be able to try, understand, and experiment through experiments for art and for multiple factors, and then produce a new visual vocabulary with unique value. It is called an experimental exhibition. It is better to understand it as a methodology exhibition. In the process of changing English into Chinese, the text size and color were translated in this experiment. Have you conducted any experiments on fonts? Is typography one of the variables in this issue? We did not experiment or design the font itself. Font design is not the object of this exhibition. In the exhibition, we removed the research on the design of the font itself and only designed it as a common Chinese font in the format and translation. What are the boundaries of design? How to see the border of design? What does it mean to explore boundaries? Design is a boundary discipline. The reason for the existence of boundaries is to be redefined. The breakthrough of boundary brings inspiration and thinking. At the same time, it can also bring a deep thinking of methodology to a deeper level. Future exhibitions should explore the boundaries of visual forms and find new forms of languages, rather styles. In terms of future plans, we will continue such a form of curation to explore visual boundaries and open new maps of visual forms. The direction isn't just text, but it's more likely to be graphics. And it may even be a production machine revolution. What are the tools? What are the tools of visual design? The construction of skyscrapers is not the mature technology of reinforced concrete, but the invention of elevator technology. The factors that influence the form of design are not only the aesthetic personality or personal characteristics of artists, but more likely to be the maturity of technology, the change of production tools, or even the change of social culture or ideology. Therefore, we also hope to try to change the possibility of visual structure through more diversified research and experiments. So the tool of visual design is the mechanism or the way of producing visual information. It must be visual information. If it's just visual, then the content is too large and the information is more targeted. Visual information, visual function, the process of obtaining information through the medium. If it's just visual and there's no transmission of information, I don't think visual information exists. So the tools that can be made to carry information and how to receive information are the tools of visual information design. What is beauty? What is ugliness? What is the public aesthetic? What is professional aesthetics? The audience is always used to judge the beauty and ugliness of the works. But the public without professional design training may follow the trend when they examine the beauty and ugliness. The problem of beauty and ugliness is so big that we can understand it more clearly from the perspective of philosophy. Beauty is not an isolated object, but a process of interaction between people and stimuli related to the mental state when people's needs are met. This dynamic process consists of three elements. 1. Signal: any stimulus that induces a pleasure response. It is the cause of beauty. 2. Subject: person. It is the place where beauty is born. 3. Aesthetic: feeling, a pleasant reflection of one's own situation when one's needs are met. It can be the feeling when reality needs to be met, or the experience and memory when past needs are met. The definition of beauty captures the essence of beauty, that people's needs are met, and overcomes many problems caused by many aestheticians in the past who regarded the attribute of beauty as beauty and aesthetics as beauty. It can reasonably explain the phenomenon of empathy. It can explain why the same stimulus has different effects on the same person in different situations, on different people in the same situation, and on different people in different situations. Are boundaries of technology broken? The development of new technology and design will wait a crisis or new opportunities. Like the emergence of the camera in the 15th century, back in 1685, the German monk Johnston published his SLR camera obscura. By the middle of the 18th century, painters were using the SLR camera obscura as an important tool for sketching. The product of camera obscura was the early stage of the camera. As early as the late 15th century, during the Renaissance, Leonardo da Vinci described this tool for sketching and writings. By the 18th century, the camera obscurities were widely used and derived for portrait still life of the small black box in a handheld camera obscura box for recording outdoor scenery. Technological developments include the introduction of AI technology into design. Intelligent design will become more and more quantitative and occur. 8. The design we need to do will pay more attention to the non-quantitative part, and will become the evaluation standard of design. Will ideological boundaries be rewritten? Whether the first running hand in Chinese calligraphy, preface to the Orchid Pavilion collection by Wang Shiji. The second running hand in Chinese calligraphy, Elegiac Lament for Departed Nephew by Yan Zhenqing, or the third running hand in Chinese calligraphy, poems written at Guangzhou on the Cold Festival by Shuzhi. All of them are full of creation. In addition to the skill level is very high, they are important to the development of the history of calligraphy. The main reason why Wang Shiji's preface to the Orchid Pavilion collection can be called the first running hand in Chinese calligraphy is to promote the development of running hand. The style of running hand was fully developed in his hands. He revolutionized the ancient ways, dared to innovate, and created a new and beautiful style of calligraphy, which hadn't appeared before, and is the pioneer for later generation. We're going to keep asking questions about the possibilities of text exploration. Mei Shuzhi, Lian Xibin.
I'm Atsuki Kikuchi.
このビッグオアスモールという
This big or small project is a joint project of three designers, Mei-san, Lian-san, and Li-san. It was delivered in the form of visuals in an exhibition, and the theme of the work was characters.
この作品は
What they did was that they took some real print ads and videos originally made in English language and then transformed those English texts into Chinese using machine translation. The translated expressions are very different. The wording, the meaning, and the size start to feel really odd. They start to feel even kitsch in a way. Although I don't have the ability to understand how a Chinese-speaking person would perceive a certain set of Chinese characters, I do get the idea of this experiment because the same thing can happen with Japanese language. What's interesting here is that by converting words into a different language, the image of the ads that you are so used to seeing starts to look really different. And what you thought was common sense, like the way of using certain words or phrases, will no longer apply. So it gives a bit of a shock to your perception and creates an interesting experience. Also, machine translation apps have become a common tool for people nowadays, allowing you to get any text translated into another language so quickly and easily. However, all of us know that a simple translation is not enough to convey all the meanings and the essence that the original text has. So unless the context of the original language or the geographic culture context of the original text are conveyed together with the mere text itself, there is no way that the translation could make any sense. I thought that the experiment effectively and clearly revealed such an unbalanced and incolorated relationship between the original text and the translation. Being a designer in Japan, I'm forced to manage the combinations of different types of characters, including the alphabet, Chinese characters, and the Japanese katakana and hiragana characters in my design work. I must say that this is a challenging task because each character type has its own unique characteristics and rules on structures and collocations, so you can never fit them all together perfectly. There's always some compromise when you try to have different characters of different types coexist in the same space. But I find this attractive and fun. Well, developing a beautiful typography only using Western characters or only Japanese characters require a unique technique. So I do appreciate and respect those beautiful designs, but I like to work with elements of different origins, which, when mixed, creates this odd feeling and unique distance. In Japan and China, because of the unique situation and the circumstances related to language, graphic designers, in one way, may be restricted from designing graphics freely. That's what makes our work unique, and that's why I like working with this environment. I was quite inspired by those young, talented designers in China taking on such a challenge, and I was a bit envious. I really was intrigued by their ideas, and I believe it is a great piece of work.